right, get ready for this one, because today we are diving into a real head-scratcher, a true crime enigma, the unsolved murder of Blair Adams.
Yeah, this one's a doozy.
It's 1996,
Okay.
Knoxville, Tennessee, and a seemingly ordinary guy ends up dead in a parking lot, surrounded by piles of cash and valuables.
But the path he took to get there, it is a twisted road.
Oh, yeah.
Full of bizarre turns and dead ends.
And we are trying to make sense of it all using a recent article
That's right.
in City Towner. But even they can't make complete sense of it.
I mean, what makes this case so captivating is that there's no clear narrative.
Right.
We have a victim whose actions leading up to his death were totally out of character.
Yeah.
A crime scene that throws up red flags left and right, and absolutely zero motive.
Okay, so let's start, I guess, at the beginning.
Sure.
Who was Blair Adams before things went sideways?
Well, before July of '96, Blair was a 31-year-old construction foreman from Surrey, British Columbia. Friends and family described him as a solid guy. Hardworking, reliable, no history of mental illness, no trouble with the law.
So not exactly the kind of guy you'd expect to find caught up in a story like this.
Not at all. But here's where the puzzle pieces start to get jumbled. In the months leading up to his death, he changed.
Oh.
Blair became increasingly paranoid.
Really?
Convinced someone was out to get him.
Huh. So was this a sign of some underlying mental health issue coming to the surface?
Well, that's a good question.
Yeah.
Or was there a genuine threat that we just haven't uncovered? It's a question that haunts this entire case. Was this paranoia a symptom, or was it a justified response to real danger?
Yeah.
The article doesn't give us a clear answer, but here's where things take a truly wild turn. July 5th, 1996. Blair goes on a frantic spree.
Okay.
He withdraws thousands of dollars from his bank.
Wow.
Cleans out his safety deposit box, we're talking gold, platinum jewelry,
Oh my God.
and makes a beeline for the U.S. border at Vancouver.
Wait, so he's acting paranoid, and his response is to grab all his valuables and try to skip town.
That doesn't really scream calm and collected.
Not at all. And to make things even stranger, he's turned away at the border.
Really?
Too much cash,
Yeah.
no clear plan.
What?
So what does he do next?
I don't know.
Abandons his car in Vancouver,
What?
hops a flight to Seattle,
No way.
drives to the airport again,
Oh my gosh.
buys a ticket to Washington, D.C., but never gets on the plane.
It's like he was running from something, but also not running very effectively.
Right.
This is chaotic, even for someone genuinely afraid for their life.
Oh.
What is he thinking?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? And the mystery only deepens because his final destination ends up being Knoxville, Tennessee.
Why Knoxville?
There's no apparent connection to him, no family, no friends, no business dealings that we know of.
So he's crisscrossing the continent,
Yeah.
seemingly at random, acting paranoid, throwing money around, and ends up in Knoxville for no discernible reason.
It's like a true crime choose-your-own-adventure gone wrong.
This seemingly random choice of Knoxville is one of the biggest question marks in this entire case.
Yeah, it really is.
Was it truly random? Or was he drawn there for a reason we haven't yet uncovered? It's a question that hangs over everything that follows.
This is already giving me chills, and we're just getting started. What happens once he arrives in Knoxville? So Blair Adams gets to Knoxville on July 10th. Did things settle down once he got there?
No, not a chance. It seems like the paranoia only intensified in Knoxville.
Really?
Yeah, the City Towner piece mentions witnesses spotting him at gas stations and local businesses, acting erratically,
Oh, wow.
looking disheveled and on edge.
So he checked into a Fairfield Inn near the airport. You'd think he might try to lay low at that point.
Right.
But even there, things took a strange turn.
Yeah, the hotel staff reported that he left the lobby without his room key,
What?
then came back a few minutes later acting incredibly confused.
Almost like he was disoriented.
Right.
Maybe even having some kind of delusional episode.
Could be.
Yeah.
And sadly, the very next day, July 11th,
Okay.
his body was discovered in a parking lot just off Interstate 40.
Oh, gosh.
And here's another detail that adds to the mystery. It was near a construction site.
Well, given that Blair was a construction foreman,
Right.
that location detail can't be ignored.
I mean, was it just a coincidence or was there a deeper connection? It's a question that the investigators surely pondered.
Okay, brace yourself, because the crime scene itself is where things get truly unsettling.
Mm-hmm.
Blair was found partially clothed.
Mm.
Pants down around his knees, shirt ripped open.
And to make matters even more perplexing, scattered around his body was a significant amount of cash.
Really?
Gold coins and personal belongings.
So not only was this a brutal attack, but it wasn't a robbery.
Yeah.
None of his valuables were taken. That's a detail that throws a wrench into a lot of typical crime scenarios.
Yeah.
What kind of attacker would leave behind such a potential haul?
Well, the autopsy report only adds to the intrigue. It revealed that Blair died from a single powerful blow to the stomach,
Gosh.
so forceful that it ruptured his internal organs. And there's more. Defensive wounds on his hands.
So he fought back. He didn't go down without a fight. Which makes you wonder, who was he fighting against and why?
Exactly. So we have this incredibly confusing mix. A victim whose actions leading up to his death are baffling, a brutal and seemingly motiveless murder,
Yeah.
and a crime scene that raises far more questions than it answers. It's a recipe for a true crime enigma.
Let's delve into the theories that have been floated to try and explain this puzzle. Where do we even begin to make sense of all this?
Well, the first theory, and perhaps the most obvious one, is that Blair was experiencing a mental breakdown.
Oh,
His paranoia, the frantic travel, the disorientation in the hotel, they could all point to some kind of undiagnosed mental health condition, maybe a psychotic break.
Oh, wouldn't that make the attacker, well, a figment of his imagination?
Yeah.
If he was hallucinating a threat, who did he actually fight with?
That's the hole in that theory.
Right.
There had to be a real person who delivered that fatal blow.
Mm.
It also doesn't fully explain the methodical aspects of his behavior,
Right.
like withdrawing all that money and clearing out a safety deposit box. Those actions suggest a level of planning that doesn't quite line up with a sudden, complete mental breakdown.
So if it wasn't a mental breakdown,
Hmm?
what about the possibility that he really was running from something,
Yeah,
a legitimate threat?
that's another possibility we have to consider. His actions do paint a picture of someone desperately trying to escape something or someone. But here again, we hit a snag. There's no evidence of any enemies, no one who had a motive to want him dead.
Did the investigators turn up anything in his background?
Yeah, they dug deep into his life, his relationships, his finances, and as far as they could tell, he wasn't involved in anything shady or dangerous. No connections to organized crime, no secret life, no obvious reason for someone to be after him.
Okay, so we've ruled out robbery as a motive. What about a random act of violence? Wrong place, wrong time.
It's not impossible, but those untouched valuables make that theory much less likely. Most random acts of violence, especially between strangers, are driven by the desire for material gain. It just doesn't add up in this case.
That leaves us with one final theory,
Yeah.
and honestly, it's a pretty unsettling one. A staged crime scene.
Ah, yes. The idea here is that whoever killed Blair Adams went to great lengths to make the scene look confusing and inexplicable.
Yeah.
They wanted to create a web of bewildering clues to divert suspicion.
That's a chilling thought, but it would explain a lot of the inconsistency. It's almost like the killer wanted to make it look like Blair was losing his mind,
Yeah.
that he was responsible for his own demise.
And that level of deliberate manipulation, that cold, calculated approach, that's what makes this theory so disturbing.
So we've got a lot of theories, but no real answers.
Right.
What happened to Blair Adams?
Well, despite a thorough investigation, the case went cold. Fingerprints at the scene didn't match anyone in the databases, no eyewitnesses came forward, and that crucial piece, the motive, remained a complete mystery.
So here we are. A victim who seemed to be unraveling right before our eyes.
Yeah.
A brutal murder with no apparent motive, and a crime scene that feels like a carefully crafted illusion. No wonder this case has haunted investigators for so long. It's enough to make anyone believe in conspiracies.
The Blair Adams case really highlights the limitations we face in these kinds of investigations.
Oh, yeah.
You have a victim whose state of mind is uncertain, no clear motive, no solid leads to follow.
Right.
It's like trying to assemble a jigsaw puzzle with half the pieces missing.
Right.
You can try to force the pieces together,
Yeah.
but the picture never quite comes into focus.
It feels like we're missing a whole chapter of the story. Some crucial piece of information that would make everything click into place.
Yeah.
Like, imagine if we could understand what was going through his mind during that frantic cross-country journey.
Right.
Was he driven by fear,
Mm.
delusions,
Mm-hmm.
something else entirely?
It's these unanswered questions that keep cold cases like this alive in the public imagination.
Yeah.
You go back to the facts, you try to retrace his steps, you look for that one detail, that missing link that everyone else might have overlooked. It's almost like an intellectual itch you can't quite scratch.
And that's what I find so compelling about this case. It's like a giant puzzle box,
Right,
and we're all trying to figure out the combination.
right.
Turning it over and over in our minds,
Mm.
we've got these intriguing pieces, the paranoia, the cache, the strange travel, the Knoxville connection.
Yeah,
But how do they fit together?
yeah.
What's the key that unlocks the truth?
One of the most baffling pieces, of course, is that journey to Knoxville itself. Why there?
Yeah.
Was it a truly random destination?
Yeah.
Just a name on a map? Or was there a purpose, a connection that we haven't been able to uncover?
It's almost as if he was drawn there by some invisible force,
Yeah.
like a moth to a flame.
Right.
It just adds another layer of creepiness to the whole affair.
This case underscores a hard truth. Sometimes, even with our best efforts, some mysteries may never be fully solved. But that doesn't mean we stop searching for answers.
Right. And who knows, maybe someone listening right now has that missing piece of the puzzle.
Hmm.
Maybe they remember seeing Blair Adams during his travels. Maybe they have a theory that nobody else has considered. It's a long shot. But sometimes the most unexpected leads crack a case wide open.
That's the power of revisiting these cold cases, keeping the stories alive. You never know who might be listening, who might have that crucial piece of information.
So if you have any thoughts or theories about the Blair Adams case, we want to hear them. Share them in the comments. Reach out to us on social media. Let's keep this conversation going. Maybe we can shed some light on this dark corner of history.
Sometimes the smallest detail,
Yeah.
the seemingly insignificant observation, can be the key to unlocking the truth. It just takes one person to make the connection.
The Blair Adams case is a stark reminder that even in a world of advanced technology and forensic science,
Yeah.
some mysteries may never be fully solved. But it's a case that will continue to fascinate and intrigue us, prompting us to question, to theorize, and to hope that someday, somehow, the truth will finally come to light.
It's a case that reminds us that even in the most ordinary of lives, darkness can lurk, and sometimes the answers we desperately seek remain elusive.
This has been a truly perplexing deep dive, and we want to thank you for joining us as we explore the unsettling mystery of Blair Adams. Until next time, keep your eyes open, your minds sharp, and remember,
True crime, no bull.